All right, welcome back to the Green Dispensary Marketing GDM Podcast. My name is Samuel Fisher. As you guys know, always trying to talk with the best people, the best entrepreneurs, the best players in the cannabis industry. And today I am back with one of the biggest players in the DC area. I'm super excited to talk to her. She's actually one of only 3 ABCA-approved certification providers. And so, she'll help you out with your compliance, making sure you're checking all corners and making sure your operations are running smoothly and also complying with the state. And then she also has some other businesses on the side. She's doing some cultivation, and we're going to talk about her 2 brands. One of the compliance brand, which is known as CannaPlan, and then also her second brand, which is known as Pharaoh Leaf. Super excited to talk with her. She wears a lot of different hats. She does a lot of big things in this industry, and she's one of the big players in this industry. And so super excited to have her onto the show, learn just a little bit from her, and see what she can share with us and help us all grow as an industry. Super excited to talk with her. Her name is Tera Josephine Gabriel. She's the founder of CannaPlan and also Pharaoh Leaf. Super excited to talk with you today, Tera. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Sam. I'm super, super excited to share my insights, some background, and have introduced CannaPlan really to the majority of the market, the wider spectrum of the market throughout the U.S. So.
Yeah, and so this is actually kind of a fun podcast for me because you are connected through a friend of mine, and so usually when I'm finding these podcasts, I'll have people reach out to me directly, or I'll reach out to them directly. But this time it was actually a friend who reached out to me and said, hey, I know this girl. She's doing some big things at DC, and working with her. And her name's Tera. Have you guys thought about doing a podcast with somebody like that? Yeah, I want to do this podcast. And so really excited. Shout out to Garrett Geithner for hooking us up together. And I'm super excited to talk with you, Tera. And so let's jump right into this. And so you run this company called CannaPlan.
Yes.
On that note, I have a competitor who does websites and SEO named CannaPlanner. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, but we love CannaPlanner. What better combo?
But let's talk about CannaPlan. Yeah. What's going on behind the hood? What is this? What are we looking at, Tera?
So CannaPlan is the only DC-focused certification training provider. So for the last 10 years in DC, they have been working under a very wide umbrella of, it was called I-71, Initiative 71. And basically, you're allowed to have any type of shop. It could be a gift shop. And what happens, you buy a t-shirt, you buy some socks, you buy something at the gift shop, and then you get gifted your cannabis. Of course, this made way for a lot of other industries to move things along that maybe shouldn't have been moving here, especially in the district. So to legitimize the industry, to create a foundation that's sustainable for this industry to grow and thrive, especially in the district, they started setting new regulations, new rules, and introducing DC into the medical cannabis market, which a lot of the other states have started with, starting with the medical industry, setting that foundation, and then opening it up to recreational use. Which, if you see the trends of the other states, that's probably what DC is trying to do. They just need to stabilize the players that are here, create a system, create a way for it to be moving. No red tape, no gray area, no funky transportation. Everything works from and is distributed from within the district. So I was actually starting to work on a brand and was really looking at the Canadian market, and was working with a young lady here who I believe was a bud tender and had a lot of insight into what was happening in the industry. And she really was the one who helped me and pushed me to, hey, why don't you start with compliance? Because for me, I really want to be vertically integrated. I love cannabis. I hate big pharmaceuticals and I hate big plastics, and really
likewise there.
And that was the reason for scheduling and criminalizing, the plant in the 60s and the 70s. So I think it's a beautiful form of alternate medicine. So this is why I said, hey, build a curriculum that's based only on DC, which is different than my competitors who are compliance trainers, I think, and they have compliance for the rest of the US. I'm really just focused on DC because it's such a unique market and regulations are changing literally day to day. And things are changing month to month. So, and I think a big part of what was happening was that they were trying to move out the people who've been in the cannabis industry here for 10 plus years by making way for new people to come in. And I didn't think that was really fair because these guys know the market. These guys have been in the industry for long enough. So they should know what what regulations are coming and what's happening, and including taking a course like CannaPlan, which is now something that you have to do for yourself and your staff, regardless of whether you're in cultivation, manufacturing, labs, or retail. You, as part of compliance, so that you know the basics of cannabis, have a basic understanding of the fundamentals, have an understanding of DC law when it comes to driving under the influence. Their ABCA is really, really, that was a really important point for ABCA as well. And to kind of really understand the history of how DC's cannabis market came to be where it is right now. So we really wanted to stay focused on that and help these people who've been in the industry stay compliant. Make sure, hey, you need to be taking your course, and all of your staff need to be taking this course every year. So what better way to start than doing that?
So just to clear up a couple things here. So when you're in the DC area, I actually don't have any clients in the DC area. And so I'm curious, is this course that you offer, it's something that needs to be done every year by every single operator. And so when you're doing this course every year, is there like a common one or two things that you see people really messing up that you really just have to hammer down? Or what would you say?
So the thing is, this is really new. Like, this just started. This mandatory annual compliance and certification just went into place this year. So unfortunately, I don't have enough data points to be able to answer that accurately. But I believe the biggest issue right now for most people that I'm hearing on the market is from back end and understanding how, bud tenders and everything is, they're having a really difficult time with the POS systems and systems like metric, so inventory systems and compliance systems. And I this is across the board. Exactly. I think this is across the board for people who've been in the industry forever to have a certain standardized way of logging things, doing things. It's a big adjustment. So I think that's really the biggest thing that people are having a hard time with. But for us, we are really wanting to help, because right now you have a check-in process, you have an exit process, you have a weekly inventory check. There's so many different steps that people were not taking that you have to take now. So taking these courses really helps you understand the landscaping, helps your bud tenders understand landscaping, needing security plans, needing emergency plans, needing ways of being able to dispose of your raw material stems and things like that, which gets a bit confusing also because then you actually have to involve the police department because they're the ones who have to come and dispose of your things, and then they actually have to move across state lines to dispose of. So there's still so much lack of understanding, especially on the East Coast. I would say we're 10 to 15 years behind the West Coast. You guys have stabilized your industries. Now it's actually super saturated.
We were joking about that on our intro call. It's how the East Coast is, everybody's talking about how the West Coast is the model to follow after, but the people on the West Coast are more like, well, you're making money on the East Coast and you're not as saturated. But what would you say?
I definitely would say you still have a good 5 years to make a good amount of money on the East Coast before the same thing starts to happen. And what makes the DC market so attractive, maybe not right now, especially with medical program, you're not getting the same benefits, but once they open, you have 20 million tourists coming in and out of the city a year. cannabis tourists as well. You have Maryland and DC, Maryland and Virginia, who also were coming in and buying product from us and coming into our dispensaries. So it's such a unique market, and it's such a beautiful market to be in, and a great time to have your foot in the door here for sure. But it will get saturated very, very soon, especially with the West Coast big players starting to eye DC, and that's actually a really big concern is, especially with people in the cannabis industry, we don't want monopolization. We don't want it to become like a capitalist, eat the small guys. No, there is so much room for everyone. And this is really the industry that shouldn't be this way. Or shouldn't
I was just going to make that same point, because that's kind of how I view it when I look at my competitors in my industry, for example. Like, oh, yeah, well, some of them will buy their stuff, some of them will buy my stuff. And I kind of see that the same way in the cannabis industry. I know locally when I go buy, it's like I know all the people, at least the main ones. And so sometimes I'll go to this one just because I really like, the type of vape they have. And sometimes I'll go to the other one just because, they have a better loyalty program and they have this little discount. And I think really at the end of the day, it's the same thing for the DC market. There'll be big players that stand out for sure, and especially if you have a really great product. But if you're doing things right, you have great prices, you have great margins, you're being compliant. You're taking Tera's course every single month or every year, excuse me. There's a great opportunity for you. So I was curious. We were talking about the biggest compliance issue, and it seems like you're kind of pointing at the reporting from the seed to sale stuff. The metric, other things like that. Is there other big flags that you notice, or would you say that's the biggest one that you are usually dealing with the most?
Actually, no. The biggest issue is ABCA not informing the stakeholders in the industry of the constant changes. So a lot of people are just finding out now that they're meant to be taking, and they're supposed to be sending their staff and managers to be taking an annual certification course. That's how they stay compliant. That's a really, really big issue. They're not informing. So also they had a biannual reporting that you had to do that they just stopped. They said, okay, you don't need to do that anymore. But where are you putting out the information? If you're not part of the meetings that they have, and not everyone is really a part of these meetings, not everyone knows about what's going on in these meetings, you need to have somebody who's constantly tracking the changes. And actually, so a unique thing that we do at CannaPlan is we have a specialized Canna bot. So it's basically a chat GPT bot, but for DC cannabis regulations and compliance, that even if you're not a user, if you haven't signed up for our course, you can even go onto our website, cannaplan.co, and ask this bot anything. Hey, do I still have to do the biannual reporting? What steps do we have to take to dispose of our material? Are there new changes to any of the regulations of hiring people or bringing people into the back rooms of our dispensaries or our facilities? But if you do sign up for our course and take the whole course, you actually get a bot that gives you a weekly report, a printable report.
Let's take 5 steps back. You just mentioned something that's really fascinating, and I wanted to make sure we break this down really well. And so when you're talking about this bot, and so I'm assuming you guys have your own GPT that you created, and I'm assuming you also trained it using the latest laws. And so is there somebody who goes in there and maintains this? And so say today we get I don't know who controls and runs things, but the mayor or whatever, we pass some new law, and all of a sudden we have to do this different. How does it work? How does the bot update? How does it track its data?
So the bot is connected to all the ABCA archives and resources. So even if you go onto ABCA's website, if you dig enough, you'll see all the meeting notes, all their monthly reports for sales, including and there's somebody who's actually taking these reports and is now putting them online onto their Instagram to also help people in the industry understand the trends. So basically, we use all of ABCA's resources, all the government, the local DC government resources, to track all the changes. And thanks to my incredible developer Hikmat, he's a brilliant developer, and he's really the one who's making sure that our bot is staying connected to the ABCA resources and staying up to date to any new links or any new spaces that they create on their website to keep us in check as well.
Yeah, very cool. Because that's a big important detail, as you know, with with ChatGPT AI hallucinating, and so if it's constantly given the right information, the live information, maybe there's a 0.1% chance that it'll get something wrong. It's still AI, but if it's only looking at the most accurate, up to date data, I think that's really cool. That's a really cool tool. I've seen something similar, which was like done for every single state, but nothing super hyper focused and niche down like what you're doing. Which kind of brings up the question, now that you're so deep into this DC market, is CannaPlan looking to expand? Maybe we could go into New York. Maybe we could go into Virginia. Are you looking to expand anytime soon?
Definitely. We're actually expanding CannaPlan into becoming a compliance haven and an SOP haven for actually any. So CannaPlan is amazing for anyone who's in the industry anywhere in the US who wants to familiarize themselves with DC and how they can really start up. The curriculum I developed is kind of like a user manual for each sect of the industry. So obviously when you're taking the course, you're not able to really you're not able to get all of that information. And I wanted an easy way for us to expand the platform to allow for the users, for the business owners, to have a place where they can hand over to new bud tend, because I'm sure there is a very high turnover rate for people in the cannabis industry. So when you're bringing on new people, it's a lot to give them the information on compliance, and just go through a 12-hour course or 24-hour course isn't necessarily going to help you so much. So you need a place where you can have an outline basically of, hey, these are your SOPs, these are your security SOPs. This is what you need to work and function, and it just makes it easier for the business owner and for the people that you're bringing onto your team. So that once we're done expanding that compliance part and having a resource database where you can go and pull up the documents and retrofit it for your business, I would definitely love to expand into Maryland, Florida, New Jersey, New York, really anywhere on the East Coast. And then I guess especially with a standardization of CannaPlan, it would be super easy to then expand to the rest of the US for sure.
Yeah, and really good point on the high turnover and how it's just really important or really annoying, shall we say, to just train people over and over and over. And a lot of times businesses will invest thousands of dollars just in losing an employee.
Exactly.
The needs for training them, and it's just something that can turn into a huge set of waste. And so that was really cool that how you're developing these SOPs for compliance. That you could just pass over to the client, because it's indirectly getting you into human resources as well too. It's like you're like one step away from also like, hey, yeah, we'll also find your bud tender too if you'd like. Yeah. Well, is that something you might consider doing too in the future?
Actually, I have an amazing team. My one person on my team, Kat, has actually even suggested creating such a space where you're like, you have a database of all these people who are compliant or who've already, gotten their certifications and just can move around to different businesses. But because of regulations, actually, which is something that we're hoping to change, I'm hoping to get in touch with City Council to ask them to make some amendments to the regulations. And that would include to centralize a database. So right now, if I am working at X dispensary, and I took the certification training, in 3 months, if I leave said dispensary and decide to go to work at a manufacturer or even at another dispensary, I'm going to need to retake that course again. But why does that make sense? Because it's the same course, I'm just going to a different dispensary. Why wouldn't my certification move from this dispensary to the other, I'm compliant. I've already done the same course. I'm not moving to, if I'm moving to manufacturing, okay, then it would be a bit different. You need to maybe take an extra part of the course, but you shouldn't have to retake it over and over. That's kind of redundant. And that's even redundant for ABCA to keep track of all the people who've it just doesn't make sense at all for what's functioning. But they are trying their best. They have very limited understanding of the cannabis market, but they're learning, and there's a learning curve, and everyone's trying to learn with them. But I think they could maybe create some space for the people who've been here and for a longer time, even longer than me, who've been here for actually like 10 years, to maybe give some insight of, hey, you know, if we do this, maybe it'll be a bit more helpful for you and for all of us. So
Yeah, and so, you know, you're talking about people who've been here. Was one of the groups that've been around since before the cannabis industry are cultivators, and so you all actually also have a cultivation company, and so this is also something we wanted to talk about here. And so, do you want to break it down? So I believe the name's Pharaoh Leaf, and so I tried Googling it, and so I'm assuming this is kind of a new company still, and you're kind of still building. But do you want to break it down? What's going on in the hood there?
Absolutely. Pharaoh Leaf is something that's been in conceptualization for probably the last 9 years. And it's to pay homage to my heritage and my culture. I'm Egyptian.
I forgot to shout that out. Yeah, no, that is so cool having an Egyptian here in the USA doing cannabis stuff. And so, he loved the branding. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Let's hear more about it.
No, you're good. I'm American Egyptian, but these are my roots. This is my culture. And actually, ancient Egyptians were the first consumers of cannabis. So I felt what better way to bridge that gap between both of my cultures and my love for cannabis than creating a brand called Pharaoh Leaf that really focuses on classic OG genetics. Sorry to all the new cultivators who are trying to come up with all sorts of different combos and different strains. That is just not how I roll. I like to cater to the OGs, and that's who the older smoker.
What was like the big sorry for jumping in. What's the big Egyptian strain? Is it the Durban poison, I believe? Is that the Egyptian strain?
Durban poison is not Egyptian. I don't think there are any Egyptian strains. Hoping to maybe get some from our good Sinai desert and bring them here, maybe. I'm joking, but we don't have any local strains in Egypt. It's Egypt. Yeah, we don't have any Egyptian strains, and better that I don't talk about anything with Egyptian cannabis.
Well, I may have been to Egypt, and I may have consumed while I'm there, not giving any definitives here, and I couldn't find any flower. All I could find was like the hashish that they get from Morocco, I believe,
Yeah. And I love hash, and I'm also a hash maker, and hoping to be making some amazing North African hash with some of my product. But in Egypt, there is flower. There's a lot of flower, especially the Bedouins. In Arabic, it's called bungo, but it's basically the male plant. It's very seedy. It's very, very seedy, very pungent. It's more hempy than it is THC cannabis heavy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there is definitely flower, and actually there's, because it doesn't make sense that somebody somewhere like Egypt doesn't regulate or legalize the industry, because that could be bringing some insane amount of revenue with everyone and their uncle in Egypt basically being a stoner.
It's probably a cultural thing, as you know, being an Egyptian. The Muslim faith would probably not appreciate that too much.
But
at least the majority of it.
Christians, even the Christians there. I'm a Copt. I'm indigenous to Egypt, and most Copts nowadays are Christian. But Coptic used to mean Egyptian way back when, during the times of the pharaohs. But I think whether you're looking at Muslim communities, Christian communities, Sufi communities, any other sub-communities in Egypt, it is definitely more of, the taboo and stigma of, cannabis still being the devil's lettuce, but Egyptian version. Yeah.
Well, how do you say devil's lettuce in Arabic? Could you say that? What is the way to say that? Is there a good translation for that? Get on a tangent here.
Khas Iblis.
Oh, I love it.
I guess. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Love,
Khas al-Shaitan, I think is a better way of saying it in Arabic.
love it. And so, how's the rollout of Pharaoh's Leaf going to be looking like the next 2-3 years? What kind of products are we looking at? What kind of states are we rolling out in? What kind of things can we expect?
Only DC. We're only going to be, for right now, we're just going to be focused on, producing product for the DC market, for DC manufacturers, and for retailers. We really want to be bringing back Afghan Kush, OG Kush.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's been
Jack Rare. Even though there is some of the market, I'm, dare I say, not very happy with some of the, classic strains that have been coming on the market. Maybe curing isn't the strongest point, or I don't know, maybe my palate for classic strains is a bit more refined. I'm not sure, but these are really, the strains that I want to be bringing back here on the market and keeping here consistently. But the goal for Pharaoh Leaf is to produce for hash making.
Love it. And I also love how you're just trying to bring back the old school genetics. It makes new branding all in house. And so, can we expect this in the DC market by end of 2025? Do we already have some stores going up, or what's the plan?
I would expect product to be rolling out on the DC market by summer 2026.
Sweet, that's awesome. That's super exciting. Big congrats on that.
Thank you. Our license transfer is just being approved, and we are going to be building out within the next month. So
can you take your own compliance course and have yourself self-certified?
Yes.
Love it.
I'll have to.
Yeah, well, being one of the 3 certified compliance partners, might as well take advantage of it, right?
And the only one that's focused on the DC market, really. That's the unique, that and our CannaBot are really the unique selling points for CannaPlan, is our focus on the DC market, the DC providers, and yeah.
Awesome.
So really looking forward to having Pharaoh Leaf product coming online very, very soon.
Yeah, is there anything else you wanted to go while we're on the topic of Pharaoh Leaf? Was there any other important details that we're missing out on that you wanted to kind of highlight a little bit more? Did we cover it? It's kind of a project that's going to be to talk about next year, it sounds like.
I think Pharaoh Leaf is going to be one of the bigger brands, not just in DC, but I think throughout the US and Canada for now, and then hopefully in 5 years, then we expand into Spain and Germany. That's really the vision.
Yeah. So, I got a fun little rabbit hole for us. So like with the branding, are you gonna like put like the Eye of Horus, the Eye of Ra? I got like a tattooed on here. Here, I got myself a tattoo too. And then I'm curious because I got like I got the Ankh.
The key of life. I love that. So we're focusing on the goddess Seshat, who is...
Okay, break this down. I don't know who this god is. I want to hear more.
So she is Thoth, who is Thoth.
Yep.
She's the counterpart of Thoth, and he's the god of wisdom and intellect. And she is also the goddess of wisdom, intellect, writing. And she has a little leaf that has 7 points, similar to or 5 points, similar to a cannabis leaf. And it's said that this is something that, it's part of the theology. No, sorry, part of the mysticism. I'm not sure if that's the right word of Seshat, was cannabis. So there was just no better. And I also have the god Thoth tattooed on my leg. Sorry.
Oh, love it.
So, and this is a really important god to my dad's side of the family. My grandfather was, who passed away last year, was actually used to speak Coptic, which is the written language of hieroglyphics. And he knew anything and everything about Egyptology. And I just once I saw that goddess having this tattoo on my leg for the last 10 years, I thought, what there's no better way that the universe is bringing this together. Pharaoh Leaf, my heritage, Seshat. There's just it was perfect. So get ready for some very, very, very cool branding. I don't think there's anything on the market that will come close to that as of yet. So.
No, yeah, it is so cool, and I hope you don't mind going on a little bit of a tangent here, but if we could go down the route of Egyptian mysticism, shall we say, or Egyptian legends, I think it's a really fascinating topic.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't know if you find a connection here, but I remember, see for example, I'm not going to get the name right, but there's this famous Egyptian ancient artwork where it's like an acacia tree, and then there's birds on the acacia tree. And so each of these birds represents a certain part of their life. At least that's how it was explained there. And maybe you recognize the painting I'm talking about. You can Google it and find it. But anyways, I thought it was interesting that it was on the acacia tree. Knowing what I know, I'd spent a lot of time in Peru, as you know. And in Peru, they use the acacia tree to make what's called ayahuasca, which it's a very powerful psychedelic. And so I've actually done this multiple times. Disclaimer. And so. Two of these times, one time I saw what I perceived to be the Egyptian god Anubis, and another time what I perceived to be the Egyptian god Horus. And so totally all about this stuff. I don't think it's all bullshit. I think it's really interesting. But I'm curious what you think, if there's a connection there with Egyptian mysticism, shall we say, and psychedelics. And because obviously we know about the cannabis. We know that they were using cannabis. We found that. But what about other psychedelics? Which specifically?
I think 100% they were using all their elixirs that they would use. They definitely used hallucinogens, different plants, different mushrooms, different things to see clearly. It's the same thing as ancient Mayan, Aztec cultures. All ancient cultures used psychedelics and cannabis as a means to connect with something that was greater than our being and our vessel that's so limited, and our brain that's so limited. I know now we've obviously regressed in collective consciousness, so what we can see and perceive now versus what we could 11,000 years ago is completely different. But I definitely think that there is 100% a link to, the universe and our understanding of existence and these ancient cultures and how they use psychedelics and cannabis. 100%. These are, especially with psychedelics like mushrooms, and I'm not well versed with any other plants or stuff like, except for ayahuasca. What's the other one that's peyote?
Mescaline, yeah, peyote, San Pedro, yeah.
And
but I think there was there was the lotus flower or something like that in Egypt. I don't know if there's like one that they made with that, or
yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not as well versed with other ancient Egyptian, psychedelics and flowers, but 100%. These are naturally occurring plants that are coming from the ground. It isn't anything that's manufactured or anything that is tainted by modern medicine or modern laboratories. This is something that has been around for as long as humans could start to discover and try different things. So there's absolutely a link to, and I'm sure ancient civilizations use these things much more in a much more ritualistic way, the same as ayahuasca was. Hence why there was a much better understanding, a collective understanding of our being and a collective consciousness, versus now where we were so removed from, what we're meant to be doing. We live in such a fast-paced world that we should not be living this way. We should not be living this way. We should be grounded. We should be in nature. We should be connected to each other. Money should not be God. So, yeah, I definitely think there's a link for
Yeah,
sure.
preaching the choir. I think you're in the right industry. And no, it's really interesting to hear those thoughts on that, because those are just like suspicions that I had. Like, just thinking the thoughts in the back of my head. When I spent time in Egypt, it was all just no, 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 no. 'Cause, a lot of the people that I spoke with were kind of explaining things and the perspective of the Muslim faith. And it's just it. Without getting us on a bigger tangent, thank you for your insight there. Really interesting stuff. Let's go back to actually your services real quick here. And so I'm really curious about marketing. And so I work in marketing, I could talk about this, whatever, but I'm curious to hear your perspective. What is the best way to push your products and services in 2025 in the cannabis industry with all these like compliance issues? What do you do?
Yep. So in DC, it's really, Canada just opened up their marketing and are now allowing Google ads and Meta ads to market cannabis. DC is still behind on that because you can't make anything attractive to kids. It can't be too colorful, can't be too, you have to market it very, very clearly. This is a medical product for medical patients that is for adults. There's no, you have to be really, really careful with your marketing. What I would say is take CannaPlan. It will help you to go through the CannaPlan course. It will definitely help you, especially with marketing. But actually, on that note, I would like to bring attention to a brand called No Kids Allowed that has an absolutely brilliant marketing strategy. No Kids Allowed. So if anyone tries to say anything to them, they really can't, because it's actually in their title. So regardless of who, how colorful or shiny their ads are, and I don't think that you cannot have any online ads as of right now in DC. So something like what they're doing is absolutely brilliant, because No Kids Allowed. It's right there at your face. You can't really, there are no and ifs or buts. It's right there. So kudos to them for thinking up that strategy and making it very clear in their title. So
yeah, I love it. And so what do you think about like SEO, cold outreach for stuff, like maybe you're like, for example, in your case, you're doing like with your Pharaoh Leaf. And so when you're going to push these into stores, what's going to be the best way to reach out? You're just going to use some contacts that you have? Are you going to maybe get yourself posted in a publication? You're going to do a landing page, SEO optimize it? Or what's the best way to get sales get your product in the store? What would you say, just knowing what you know?
I think it's partnerships, forming partnerships. And actually that's what I'm attempting to do now, is collaborate with different cultivators that are already online to push my product, Pharaoh Leaf, in collaboration as a co-branded collaboration between their products. And I would suggest this for any small cultivator or anyone who still doesn't have their operation going, but has their branding, has their genetics that they want to be pushing out. The best thing for you to do right now is partner up with different cultivators, co-branded products, push those out, get your name out there, start to get some exposure. And then once you're online, maybe have a few pop-ups within each stores, have, monthly pop-ups at different retailers, and forming relationships at that point is going to be really, really important, to have different retailers say, yeah, hey, sure, bring your product in, we'll have a little installation for you. Or which is what Cookies did, actually. I don't know if you know that Cookies expanded here into DC.
I did not hear that yet. Not surprising. They're everywhere.
I know. So they have now a store here in DC, and before then they were setting up different I believe they had set up a couple of installations, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's the best thing to do, is for you to really focus on your relationships and pushing out co-branded products with people who already have their brands out there. And I think that's the best thing to do, because as of right now, it can get, being in the district, it's finicky, because it's still federally illegal and criminalized and Schedule 1 narcotics. So, but at the same time, the district itself has its own regulations, and you have very limited space of how you can be working within it. So that's why I wouldn't say that, having a great landing page or SEO optimization is really a thing. I think cold calls, emails, the old school some flyers, stickers around the city. I think old school guerrilla marketing is the way to go. 100%. Partner up with different restaurants, partner up with different businesses in the city, different, maybe, a botany store, maybe a hardware store, maybe a sports store that maybe has a bit more of an open-minded, approach or ethos when it comes to cannabis. I really think for any business, partnerships and collaborations are the way to go. Everyone has their niche. Find your niche. Know who you're targeting. Know who your audience is. And then partner up with other people who and grow together. Because there's space for everyone. There's space for everyone. It doesn't have to be a dog eat dog world. We don't have to backstab each other. There's enough space.
Yeah.
And enough of the market to go around for everyone. So.
No, yeah, and it seems you're kind of repeating yourself, and it seems like you need to, and you're absolutely right, because so some people will be like listening, oh yeah, partnerships, and maybe like kind of rolling their eyes in the back, but like think of it this way: is like Tera has a friend. This friend also sells actively right now to all the people that Tera wants to sell to. Tera can do a co-marketing campaign with this friend. All of a sudden, this person who has all these people that were already buying from him are ready to buy from Tera.
Exactly.
It's just.
And we don't need to expect the same genetics. We don't have to have the same strains. We can just capture different segments of the market, more segments of the market together, growing different things. And definitely repeating myself, but it can't be repeated enough, because I think there's a very big issue in the industry here in DC is everyone is so fearful and so scared and wanting to backstab everyone else. And, there isn't enough space for everyone. There isn't enough product. There isn't enough. It's like, guys, come on. Like, there's more than enough for everyone to go around. And I know right now, especially for retailers, they've been hit really, really, really hard with the new medical program, and their sales have plummeted because the market that was coming, the audience and that was coming to buy from them is no longer buying from them, like tourists or, people coming in from Virginia or Maryland. Even though you can self-certify at the store with whatever license you have, you are allowed to self-certify. I believe you don't just have to have a DC license. Just have to be over 21. So, yeah.
Yeah, this has been really informative, Tera. I've learned a lot. I just wanted to thank you for coming on, just sharing a little bit of your knowledge. I have a few more fun questions for you, so that we don't have to hang up quite yet. But I just wanted to shout you out again. And so if you're looking to get certified in the DC area for compliance, which you have to do now, it's an every year thing. Definitely check out Tera and CannaPlan. They will help you do so. And I'm sure they'll do a great job and not just only get you certified, but also help you on the back end with your compliance, with their chatbot and everything, to make sure that you're doing everything right. Thanks for coming on, Sarah. And so just a few more fun questions for you. You don't have to answer these if you're a little uncomfortable doing them or whatever, but I'm going to throw them out there. I'm curious, first of all, about your first time trying cannabis.
Well, my first time trying cannabis was it was probably very, very young. I'm not sure I should say how old I was, and probably will avoid saying that. But I was very, very young. It's probably like 14 years ago, 15 years ago.
Because I've heard 12 on this podcast before, so it's young. No. It's not too young.
No. I was probably around 15 or so. And it was three of my friends. We were at my beach house. Each of us was given a task. One was to hold the rolling paper. One was to make the filter for the joint, and one was to add, because in Egypt we smoke with tobacco. Spliffs. One was to break up the cigarette and add the little hash in there. It was one of the most amazing experiences. And then my first time smoking weed was here in the US, maybe a year after that.
So did this first time open up a chain of events that led you to coming to the United States?
No, I was born in DC actually. So
Okay.
I'm American. I've been coming here since I was born. So it's like having different experiences from different sides of the world with different culture, different background, different everything, different friends, different experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So these days, now that you're not the 14-year-old girl smoking hashish and the spliffs in Cairo or wherever you're based, what's your favorite product these days?
My favorite product is still hash. I don't smoke as much as I used to, and especially to stay lucid with everything else that I'm doing my day. But I will always choose hash over cannabis. For me, and the way that I work, my brain works, I think it's the best to use concentrates, and especially something like hash, it gives you a completely different experience than weed does.
Cool. Yeah, one more question for you, Tera. Knowing what you know, seeing everything that you see over there at CannaPlan and also Pharaoh Leaf, everything that's going on, given the current climate, everything you see in your crystal ball, what do you predict for the next 5 years of the cannabis industry? Are we going to be legal? Are we going to have more pullback? Are we going to have issues with the farm bill? What do you see in?
I don't think there's going to be too much pullback. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make economic sense. It doesn't make sense for where the global market is headed. It just doesn't make sense for anyone from a business standpoint. Even this incredible administration, there are too many Republicans who have a stake in the market. That, come on, everyone is making so much money, guys. Let's be real. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think, maybe it'll take a bit more time, but the market is going to be booming. It's going to be booming.
Oh, hell yeah. Kind of on that note, the latest news, I think this is like 1 month ago, they were trying to shoot down the farm bill and add in cannabinoid language. And then one of the senators actually threatened to basically stop the whole process unless they take out the hemp language. And they did so. And so we're good for another year.
Because a lot of them have a stake in hemp, and the thing is, nobody has an actual scientific understanding of what they're talking about. So they don't understand that it's all you guys just are. It's really just about the language. It's all the same thing. I think a really important thing is education, especially with where the market is. There needs to be awareness and understanding what this plant is, what the breakdown of this plant is, because using something like THCA versus THC, guys, same. So I don't think it's going anywhere. Love
it. Well, thanks again, Tera, for coming on. This has been really a good discussion. I'm looking forward for future opportunities for collaboration. But if not, whatever, definitely wish you the best and definitely want to find ways to collaborate in the future, and wish you the best of luck with all of your projects, whether it be CannaPlan, Pharaoh Life, as well as also your personal life. Wishing you all the best. Thanks again for coming on, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Sam. Have a good one.
Hey, Sam here. Thanks again for listening to the GDM Podcast. So we do websites and SEO for cannabis brands and operators, and we do things a little bit differently here at GDM, where we can promise results within weeks rather than months. And so if you're looking to sell more ounces, bongs, other premium products, start selling some more weed, get in touch with us at Green Dispensary Marketing to learn more. Thanks again for listening, and hope you have a great day.